It's Thursday night, and welcome to another edition of Buc What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Super Heavyweight. You follow me, I'll follow you back. I'm joined by my co-host, Michael Pless. Michael, how you doing tonight? Let me get you unmuted here. Hey, can you see if you can unmute yourself? I don't know what happened here. Oh, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Yeah, I'm doing well, Gene. Thanks for having me on. As you can tell, we're getting closer to football, so we're only a week away from training camp. So very excited about that. So it's gonna be a good show.
You know, it's really weird seeing another team in the NFC South rather than the Bucs that are dealing with the turnover issue. Being the Carolina Panthers. With the sudden firing of Dave Gettleman, that totally caught me by surprise. I did not expect that. And what did you think when you first heard that?
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked as well. I mean, it was very surprising because the Panthers are coming off such a great offseason. I thought they really did a good job. Outside of the Matt Khalil signing, I thought they did a pretty decent job. They had a pretty good draft, got more playmakers for Cam Newton. So pretty much had a pretty steady offseason. But I found it shocking. I mean, I thought, especially this late in the offseason.
Yeah, one thing that I really, and me, if you've followed my podcast, you've been on as much as you have, I always preach consistency. And I've always felt like when Dave Gettleman came in, the salary cap hell that the Carolina Panthers were in, he was able to right the ship and stabilize the team and get some key players in to really get this team competitive. And what they were able to do in just the NFC South alone under his leadership just says a lot about what he is capable of doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he had a lot of good drafts. I mean, especially over the last couple of years. Really beefing up that defensive line. He's always going in the trenches and adding a Kelvin Benjamin, getting a Luke Kuechly, really the core players of this team for the Panthers. And now, I mean, now you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, they just cut Michael Orr. They extended Trey Jack. Yeah, is it Trey Jackson? Yeah, Trey Jackson, their guard. So, I mean, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't understand why they did it this late. And now there's rumors they could go back to their old GM, which I don't know. That makes no sense to me.
So. Yeah, that's the guy that got him in salary cap hell to begin with. Yeah. But I'm looking at all this, and you talked about Michael Orr, and my thoughts and prayers are out with him. Football is football. We root for our team and we root against our division rivals. But as human beings, man, injuries, especially concussions, in what we know about concussions, it's really sad to see what's happened with him. And I do believe, and I have to get with some of my Carolina people here, but I do believe that he was still under concussion protocol all this time, and he just. Yeah. He wasn't getting to where he could get back on the field again. So I think that could have had a lot to do with it, where he was and why it ended the way it did.
Right. And I apologize. I misspoke earlier. It's Trey Turner is their guard. That got extended. Don't want to offend any Panthers fans that may be watching. But yeah, I mean, I just find it's very odd, and you have this thing going on with Cam Newton and his shoulder surgery. So is he going to be 100%? So I mean, it's just a lot of question marks right now for the Carolina Panthers, and it's not a time where you want to have uncertainty. I mean, you want to be confident going into this season. Uncertainty at the top, especially general manager. I mean, that's a very important position, and when you get it right, how success usually follows shortly after. I mean, we're looking at it right here with the Buccaneers. So
yeah, absolutely. We are the, and I'm going to be honest, we're the model for what to do and what not to do in the general manager head coaching position. I mean, I look at Dave Gettleman. Dave Gettleman was he was a personnel guy. He knew personnel. He knew what players to get. For the most part, no GM is perfect, but what he was able to accomplish with what he had, I thought he got some key players in. I mean, if you get your team primed to where they can go to the Super Bowl, that says a lot about what you're capable of doing. So, again, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. I personally just don't understand why it didn't get done at the end of the season, or let it ride throughout the season and not disrupt what you have going on right now. Because I look at this team on defense and I look on offense. Their secondary was coming on towards the back end of the season. And I look at the pieces that they've drafted, and it looks like they've put themselves in a position to be pretty competitive this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would completely agree. I mean, they have some young corners on that team that are really good, like James Bradbury. I'm trying to think of the other guy's name, but I mean, they have a lot of good pieces there on that defense. The linebacking core is outstanding. Their front, I mean, they probably have one of the better front sevens in this league. And then on offense, they finally got some pieces to go with Kelvin Benjamin, Greg Olsen. The offensive line is a little reshuffled. They lost from last year, Mike Rimmers. He went to Minnesota, but they brought in Matt Khalil. I don't know if that's an upgrade, so that's kind of a question mark there. But I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, but definitely improved. I mean, overall, they definitely had a pretty good, solid offseason. I think it just comes back to the whole Josh Norman thing, why they might have let him go, and then some other things I heard about him not being very approachable is another thing I've heard. So
yeah, and I heard there was some contract talks that broke down, and I can't think of who it was, but it was somebody who'd been with the team a long time, and unfortunately, you hate to see this kind of thing. And I mean, you're on Twitter, I'm on Twitter. We've seen some of the former players and their thoughts on him, getting let go. And Michael Orr had something interesting to say. When he was talking about Dave Gettleman, he had a good relationship. So you have kind of a mixed bag of people's thoughts on Dave Gettleman, but from a fan's perspective, you had to be happy with everything that he did. And you're a couple of years removed from going to a Super Bowl, a year that was out of this world, that nobody expected. That a team, what were they, they were a one-loss team,
Yeah.
And then, it kind of blows your mind to see, where they are right now. And it should be interesting to see how all this plays out. We talk about timing. Do we know why Cam Newton waited so late to have that surgery, or was it something where he was trying to get second opinions and it finally came down to he needed the surgery, so he had to have it? Or do we know what happened?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure on that. I mean, it might just been he was trying to rehab it without the surgery, and then he just finally got the word that he needs the surgery, and finally got it done. But I'm not sure why he waited so long. I mean, especially with a shoulder, if you have a chance to get that healed, sooner is the better. Especially as a quarterback when you're going to be throwing the ball. So
yeah, and you're the face of the franchise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we're really close to the season, and I don't know about you. I've been seeing a lot of different articles talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and how the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are trending upward. They have pieces in place to put themselves in a position to go to the playoffs. And, that's really exciting to read stuff like that, considering what we've been through since right after the Super Bowl up until now, only having two winning seasons, not since the Super Bowl, but since, was it 2007?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And it's just, it's not been good for Bucs fans, but for the most part, Bucs fans have suffered through, and here we are. And one of the things that kind of gets to me, and I touched on it last week, but I kind of wanted to, I wanted to discuss this again. I want to hit on this again. Is the quarterback position. I don't think people realize how special Jameis Winston is to this team. And all you have to do, and I know this will be his third year. All you have to do is, compare his body of work to some of the other quarterbacks in the league, and you kind of get an idea of where he is. And I guess I'm going back. I'm going all the way back to the beginning, and I look at a lot of the quarterbacks that Tampa has had. Do you, in your mind, can you think of anybody right now that you could compare Jameis Winston to that the Bucs have either drafted or brought in as a free agent?
Oh, as far as quarterbacks, the Bucs have
drafted? As far as quarterbacks to compare him to say because to be honest, Tampa has not had very good success when it comes to drafting quarterbacks, or even bringing them in from free agency as far as that goes.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, closest comparison. I didn't watch much of his highlights. I didn't watch much of him playing. But I would say maybe Doug Williams or Vinny Testaverde, but I'm not sure if they have similar styles or not. But
I'm going to say that, and again, because of the way he handles himself, because of his leadership, I honestly do not believe that that I can compare any other quarterback to Jameis Winston that the Bucs have either drafted or brought into free agency. He stands alone to me. Yeah. And I'm going all the way back, past Trent Dilfer, Steve DeBerg, Jack Thompson, just the quarterbacks that have been here. And I'm sorry, I just don't see it. I think this kid is something very special. And the one thing that people have been talking about are Jameis Winston and the interceptions, the picks that he's thrown. And I understand where people are talking about this. If you're not following the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I could see where people could, watch a game and see an interception and say, oh, okay, I see what's going on. And then you watch Marcus Mariota and you see what he's doing and, how efficient he is. And, there are two totally different quarterbacks here. And, when I look at Jameis Winston, he's a guy who wants to win. And when he's making a play because he wants to win. That's what he's trying to do. And it's win at all costs. And I know there have been times where he's throwing interceptions and you're like, man, what the heck is he doing? But he always forgets about it. He totally gets amnesia about that pick he threw, and he's still competing. He's competing all the way to the fourth quarter. And that's something that I found to be very special about him. For you, what things stand out to you about Jameis Winston that makes him an above average quarterback, or somebody you feel is an above average quarterback?
Obviously, I think it's his eyes. His eyes on the field really make him stand out. The way he can manipulate defenders with his eyes, is very special. Only a few quarterbacks in this league have that ability where they can move safeties with their eyes. He does a really good job of doing that. Just his overall, his arm strength is probably top tier in this league. The throws he can make with a flick of the wrist, really special arm. So, but then, the thing that makes him special is his intangibles. His film study, his ability to recognize defenses, just to see things, make adjustments at the line of scrimmage. Now, these are things he's all getting better at. These are things he can improve on still. But at a young age, only 23 years old, he's already in that above average, getting close to elite status, in my opinion. So, if I had to compare him to someone, I would say Peyton Manning. I just see him in that light. I think Peyton Manning was the same, where he could analyze the defense very quickly and figure out where he has to go with the ball, and he would just make things happen. And then again, not the playmaker like Jameis is. Jameis just doesn't give up on plays. That's his biggest issue with the turnovers. He just hates giving up on plays. He's always trying to find a way to make that big play, and he's getting better at it. Sometimes he's learning. This time we just got to check it down and move on to a punt. So again, it all comes with age. I mean, he's only 23, so and for what he's been able to accomplish is pretty outstanding. But yeah, I would definitely say his intangibles in his eyes. I mean, that's what makes him stand out to me.
Yeah, and when you see him on the sidelines, you see he's engaged with everybody, and I think that's another thing that's very important. I remember there was somebody, and I can't remember who that guy was, that was running his mouth to the crowd. He was trash talking back and forth with the crowd, and Jameis Winston came and grabbed him and brought him away from all that. And that's the kind of thing, just the little things like that to say, hey, let's focus on the game. Don't worry about what they're doing. Let's keep your head in the game. And those are the kind of things that are important, when you're talking about a quarterback, a franchise quarterback, or the face of the franchise. And like you said, I mean, when you consider this guy has thrown for as many yards as he has, what is this? 4,042 yards his rookie season, and 4,090 yards his second season. That's huge. That's, I mean, it's kind of new for us as Bucs fans to sit here and not really have to worry about, hey, we need a quarterback. We need to worry about, who's going to be throwing the ball. That is a non-issue. And I can think of so many other teams in the NFL that still do not have that position 100% locked down. I look at Kansas City, Cleveland, the list goes on and on. There are so many different teams that are missing that key component. And, we're fortunate that we have that, as well as an elite wide receiver. So, Jameis Winston, what he does on the field and off the field just kind of exemplifies what you want in a quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I'd also say his ability, his pocket awareness, pocket presence is tops in this league already. I mean, his ability to make defenders miss in a small space, especially in the pocket, and then getting outside of the pocket and making plays on his feet is top notch as well. That's why you see the comparisons to Brett Favre, that gunslinger type attitude, that playmaking ability. Just finding ways to make plays, and that's what he does so well. I'm better, but at times, sometimes he hurts our offensive line because he's trying to make a play too much. Right. I don't understand the critics. I mean, the tweet this week, what was it? Comparing Josh Freeman's stats to Jameis Winston.
Don't even get
so. I'm going to give Gene a hard attack.
Oh my goodness, that infuriated me when I saw that. I just could not believe that this is somebody that doesn't watch Buccaneers football. I mean, and that is it.
Yeah,
I mean, it didn't deserve a whole lot of hoopla, but the fact that this guy didn't do his homework, didn't do his research before tweeting something as stupid as that, just kind of shows you what we're up against right now.
Yeah, I mean, the guy, he works in out of Denver, Colorado. He's a Broncos fan. I respect the guy. I think he has a lot of good sources, especially when it comes to free agency. I usually follow him around that time, but when it's putting out stats like that, I mean,
man, I left that alone.
Yeah, just don't put that up there. There's no reason to compare, especially when he put it up without context.
And then I can't remember the Buccaneers fan. Somebody grilled him right away on that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he got attacked. I mean, he had I think it was over like 600 mentions. So, I mean, he had a tough week for sure, especially from all Bucs Nation.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, I don't get it. And people forget Josh Freeman, especially in that 2010 season, he had a lot of interceptions that were dropped that year. So his interception total, I know, is only 6, but it could have easily been 20 picks that year. So, And it all goes to situations in the game. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't overlook stats. Like Raheem says, stats is for losers. And at times that's true. So
Yeah, and again, you can manipulate stats to say whatever you want them to say. So to me, I tend to stay away from that. But what it all comes down to, and Amazement 717, he's aggressive. You don't want to lose that fearless thing that Winston has. You're exactly right, and that's the one thing that I will say about Jameis Winston. He is aggressive, and that's what I think this offense has been missing all these years is an aggressive play caller. um, I'm happy with what he does. I understand that this is his second year in the NFL. He only played he didn't he only played 2 years in college, and then he's coming into the pros. I think he's doing good. You can't compare the two. And when I think about Josh Freeman did not hone his craft. Um, he wasn't in the film room like a Jameis Winston. He wasn't holding people accountable like a Jameis Winston. He wasn't that vocal leader that you see from a Jameis Winston. So you're talking about night and day. And I try not to compare people, but I tweeted out earlier this morning and again this afternoon talking about who Jameis Winston reminded you of, whether it's a present player, past player, just who does his play remind you of? And there was some pretty interesting stuff. I'm gonna read off some of these here. Pat Donovan said that he sees Eli Manning. He compared him to Eli Manning and Brett Favre. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And he kind of broke it down. He said that, he's been saying this for a while. He said, belief that he can make every play. Both can look like the best quarterback at times and the worst at other times, which is true. But, they both do their thing. And, the one thing you can say about Eli Manning, he is a Brady killer. I mean, both times he's gone to the Super Bowl, he's been that guy. So,
yeah.
But I'm glad that he kind of explained where he was coming from with that. So that makes sense. I see that, and how people view this quarterback, it's all subjective. So there's no wrong answer here. If you say he looks like Warren Moon, that he looks like Warren Moon throwing the ball. I get it. I heard Brett Favre. I heard Brett Favre and Michael Vick. I'm not sure about the Michael Vick part, but the Brett Favre part, I get that. I mean, that's been the main one for me that kind of stands out. And that was from John Crew on Twitter. Massimo, Brett Favre and Eli Manning. There's another vote for Eli Manning here. So let's see. Let me go back up here and see who else was responding to this. Mr. Peppa said Air McNair. So he kind of reminds him of Steve McNair, the way he has a big arm and throws the ball. What do you say? Big and athletic, although appearing clumsy, but gets out of sure sacks, strong arm, and the look of confidence he protrudes. So
that's actually a good comparison. I can see that. I can see Steve McNair.
Yeah, definitely. And then Massimo said, I would say he's got Peyton's pedigree and prep, but his game translates like Eli, kind of awkward looking, but super effective. So, there's another one for Eli here. Let's see. Douglas O'Connor, Fran Tarkenton, better statistically outside the pocket than inside the pocket. What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with that assessment?
That's interesting. I mean, I can't really comment because I didn't really watch Frank Tarkenton play, so that was before my time.
And Fran Tarkenton would probably kill him for saying that because Fran Tarkenton hates Jameis Winston.
Yeah, and isn't Tarkenton's in the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah, yes, he is.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Jameis is just fine in the pocket. I don't see anything.
Yeah, and I'm the same way.
In the pocket.
And I think that
Yeah.
was one of the big selling points, him coming out of college was his pocket presence, was the fact that he could, he could work in the pocket, and he could feel the pressure around him, and he could still get the ball out without, making a whole lot of mistakes. So, there's that. So, Jameis Winston, I think he's just fine. I think he's progressing like he should. The one thing that I would love to see him work on is the red zone offense. It's the one thing that kind of has kind of frustrated me, because he's got the tools, he's got the mind, but when they get in the red zone, it just, I don't know. I'm not going to put it on some of it may be the defense, but I can't 100% put it on the defense and say, hey, the defense is that good and that's what's going on. I feel like, he's got to make better decisions. And, when you're in the red zone like that, you have to get the ball out. It has to come out. And I don't know. What are you seeing when you look at him in the red zone?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Jameis right now that he needs to work on is just his overall timing and mechanics. His footwork is still a work in progress. He's getting better with it, but a lot of his inaccuracy issues come with his timing and footwork, where it's kind of out of sync at times, and it's causing balls to sail, especially passes where he's doing, let's say it's a 3-step drop, trying to get the ball over a linebacker, or in between a safety and a linebacker. Sometimes you see that ball sail on him because he's trying too fast to get his footwork set, and his arm placement is not properly in the right spot. So it's just finding that consistency. But when you talk about the red zone's all about timing. Like you said, you have to be on it. And if you miss it by a second, the play is going to be dead. So if you hold the ball, 1 second too long, you're not going to have that guy. You're not going to have him open. So it's just understanding that timing, and that comes with better understanding of the offense, which he's going to have, especially as he goes forward here. And plus, it helps when you have more weapons. I mean, more weapons is going to help. So
and Roland, that's what Roland Brown here in the chat, it said Jameis can navigate the red zone better with new weapons. And you know what?
Yeah,
you've got to upgrade. Hopefully we will see, once he gets on the field, OJ Howard is an upgrade. And then you still have Cameron Brate, who I'm telling you, Cameron Brate's going to have a huge season if people are keying in on OJ Howard, because he's still as effective as he was last year. So again, there are more weapons in the red zone. And, that was one of the things that was a plus for Jameis, was placing the ball where it needed to be before the receiver got to where he needed to get to. And hopefully, he can put all this together. But that was one of the few things that just, frustrated me about Jameis was the red zone, because I feel like, if you can get those points in the red zone, there were some games that Tampa should have won. I would say the Raiders game and the Rams game were two games that stick out in my head that Tampa should have won. And there were times in the red zone where Tampa should have done the thing, and they didn't get it done. So again, it's a work in progress. This is his third year. This is where you expect the biggest jump from players who are drafted players. You should expect the biggest jump in the third year. And I consider the first 2 years learning years. And if 4K plus yards is learning, I'm good with that.
Yeah,
I'm really good with that. So, that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing is, we're probably going to have, most likely, we're going to have more explosive plays this season, which is going to help this offense be more efficient as well. Because when you can get more big plays, and you don't have to get into that red zone where it's more boggled down, and you don't have to worry about being precise. And now you can get more big plays where guys are making people miss. You get more yak yards. You get touchdowns that way. It just helps your offense overall, opens up the field even more, and then you can get your running game going. So it's going to be a good thing. I think Jameis is definitely taking the right steps and towards the right direction. Like I said, that's why I compare him to Peyton Manning, because I see that pedigree, that willingness to get better, that hard work ethic, that's why that's why I laugh at the comparison, as every Bucs fan should, about the comparison to Josh Freeman, because Freeman didn't have that work ethic. He didn't have the want to get better.
Right.
At least I didn't see it. And as
And
far as arm talent,
you almost
yeah.
have to go all the way back to his college seasons, because when he was in high school, they had a really good coach. That was a top-notch coach in Kansas City, where he came from. He went to Kansas State, and Ron Prince, who's got to be the worst quarterback, worst coach, head coach. I would say that he's worse than Greg Schiano as far as coaching goes. And you know what I think of that guy. But this guy had no business being the head coach of a team. And Jameis Winston didn't get trained to work to develop a work ethic, if you know what I mean. I know for some people like a Jameis Winston, it's natural. But when I looked at Josh Freeman, it's something that had to be like drilled into him, because you go from high school to college and you don't have any real tutelage there. And then you go into the pros, and you pretty much seen how everything went. He just never had the desire to better his craft.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and another thing is, like, Freeman, I see him as more of a, when he was playing with the Bucs, he was more of a thrower, instead of being a quarterback, if that makes sense. And he didn't have the eyes, the eye movement. He wasn't able to manipulate safeties like Jameis can already.
Right.
He had the arm talent. I mean, his arm was probably top tier. He had the arm strength for sure, but just overall footwork, mechanics.
But you got to have it from the neck up.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that's what killed him. And he didn't have that. Jameis already has that, which makes him special, in my opinion, because if you have the brains, it's easier to translate to everything else on the field.
Absolutely.
And make your game better.
And all the things, and folks, all the things we're talking about are coachable. Everything that it just a little bit more work, a little bit more film room, and you're there. It's just, but keep in mind, this guy is going to continue to get better. I mean, that's just from what we've seen from him, from Florida State up until now, just continually gets better. So that's something that we could definitely expect. And Dorian Whitehead, one of our new listeners, thanks for checking us out, man. I appreciate it. He said he's definitely ain't Josh Freeman. That's the truth. You're definitely right. So we've been talking about Josh Freeman, not Josh Freeman, but goodness, I got Josh Freeman on the brain. We've been talking about Jameis Winston throughout the show, and I think that's one of the things, because he's the face of the franchise. I think he's the first look that you get. And a lot of people have not paid attention to Jameis Winston since college and all the stuff that he was going through. So a lot of people are not really familiar with where he is, in the NFL. And I think that this the whole the show Hard Knocks is going to definitely help. It's not going to hurt. It can't hurt unless he does some crazy stuff, or unless he punches a DJ or something. I don't see where there are going to be too many issues. So I expect fans, football fans that watch the show, to get to understand what Bucs fans, Buc Nation, stick carriers, what the Buc, all these people are seeing, and what all these people are excited about is as far as a quarterback. So it's something to really be, excited about.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing is, people forget Jameis was playing baseball as well during high school and college. So, I mean, that's another thing where mechanics are different, and you can get confused with your throwing mechanics for baseball and football. So that's another thing that he had to work through. And now he's had, I think this is his second, well, no, he's going into his third full off season. Well, no, it'd be second full off season where he didn't have to worry about baseball. Yeah, where he doesn't have to worry about baseball. He can totally focus on his arm mechanics and his footwork for the quarterback position. So that itself is going to make him better, and that's why I'm not worried about him. I think he's on the trajectory to just keep getting better each year. That's why I compare him to Peyton Manning, because I can see where when he gets into his, fifth and sixth year, those interceptions I think are going to be very limited. I think he's going to have a high touchdown ratio, and really be a quarterback that is in the top 10, top 5 elite, of this league. So,
and I'm going to say this, it's all going to be prefaced on everybody staying healthy, or people. I know we're going to have injuries, and
absolutely.
just prepare yourself, Bucs fans. We're going to have injuries. I don't know who it is. I don't know where it's going to be, but it's just going to happen. Players like Charles Sims, these are players that I expect to have good seasons because they were injured. We know, as Bucs fans, we know what players like this are capable of doing. And, just getting him out on the field and getting him to do that, it's kind of exciting for me to see him 100% healthy, because I'm telling you, at any moment he can break a big play. So that's something to really be excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, health is critical. We gotta be able to stay healthy this year, especially our key players. But yeah, I mean, Charles Sims, I'm actually writing an article about Jacques Smith, who I think is the key to this defensive line. So I'll have that coming out probably after the show here tonight. So look for that. Really good stuff on Jacques Smith. So he's in a contract year, so it's a big year for him. Charles Sims. Let's see who else. We got Keith Tandy in a contract year. So a lot of guys that have, a lot riding on the line this season.
Yeah. So when it comes to Keith Tandy, what do you think? How do you think he's going to do? In that starting role?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of fans talk about who's going to be starting at safety this season, and that's yet to be determined. We're going to have a great camp battle at the safety position. But when in regard to Keith Tandy, I think he's the best safety on this team just because of the steps he made last season. I know it's a small sample size, so there could be regression, but I just see a guy who's finally found the perfect fit, the perfect scheme for his abilities, and finally got the opportunity that he was looking for. And unfortunately, with past regimes, he wasn't able to get that.
Exactly. And that's just what I'm going to chime in right there and say that Keith Tandy's somebody I've always liked since they drafted him. He's always making big plays in preseason. But somebody would always come in and get handed the keys to the car, and he never really got a chance to compete for that position.
Yep.
What Keith Tandy did last season is what players should be doing, is when you get that opportunity, you make the most of that opportunity, and you make sure that, hey, I'm that guy. My name's going to be mentioned first before anybody else because of my play. And that's what he was able to do last season. And that's something that I'm excited for him, because he's never gotten a chance to compete for that starting position, but here he is. And I really hope that he can make the most of this.
Yeah, and I think he will. I mean, the guy's still in a prime age. He's only 27 years old.
Yeah, he was young when he was drafted.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he's still got room to get better, and that's the exciting thing. And I think he's going to continue, especially when he gets more comfortable with his defense. It just allows him to be aggressive, and he's an aggressive type player. He's always around the football, and that's something you want to have in your safeties. Now, as far as the other spot, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I'm not sure who's going to take it. I mean, Conti, Wilcox and Evans are coming off of injuries, so they're they're a little bit behind as far as the playbook and everything, the schedule. So, but I mean, that's going to be a battle to watch for sure.
Right. And I know we talked about the coach last week, but the one thing I will say about Dirk Cutter is competition. I love this. This is what the NFL should be about. It shouldn't be about politics. It shouldn't be about, I want my guy in here. It should be about having the best guy on the field, the guy that's going to get you those wins. He's going to contribute to wins, not, oh, this is my guy, so I want him in here. No, you want the best guy on the field, hands down. Like what they did with the kicking. Look at the kicking position, where Anger won out the kicking position, and you see how that benefited the team throughout the season.
Yeah, and now you're doing the same thing with Roberto Aguayo and Nick Folk.
Yeah, push him. Push
And
him.
yeah, yep, yep.
You can't just
Competition
hand him.
makes
Yeah, iron sharpens iron. You can't hand him the keys
yeah,
to the car. I mean, we
no,
saw what he
no.
did. He almost wrecked the car. So, so we can't.
Yep.
There's somebody that was in the chat that was talking about Beckwith, and I know we're kind of off the subject. I
That's fine.
do want to make this a permanent thing where anybody that's in the live chat and you're talking about something, I'd like to make sure that I get your thoughts out here because I appreciate everybody listening to the show. So probably within the next 5-10 minutes, I will go out here and start reading some of these comments just because there are some really interesting ones. And we have some high football IQ guys out here that, are talking about football. So I definitely want to get these guys, thoughts on everything. So, we've been talking about the quarterback position. We've kind of talked about the red zone a little bit. And I just want to touch on the offensive line just a little bit because I know this is another place that it's kind of split down the middle among Bucs Nation. Is this a good offensive line or is this something to be worried about? And personally, I don't think that people should jump out the window when it comes to the offensive line. I think that you're going to be pleasantly surprised. Mike Smith is a good defensive coordinator. I thought Mike Smith was a good head coach. He just didn't have the personnel to run the team the way he wanted to while he was in Atlanta. And that's just my personal opinion. I mean, you look at what happened with the team after Tony Gonzalez retired, never filled that spot. So there were just little things like that. I thought that, Mike Smith was good. I thought Mike Smith was good when he was in Jacksonville as a defensive coordinator. So I think that this guy knows what he's doing. And I think Bucs fans should really appreciate having him as long as we can have him because he will be a head coach very soon.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I mean, getting back to the offensive line, I think the offensive line will be just fine. And a lot of it is, Ali Marpet moving to center. You get J.R. Sweezy back, who's 100% looking very strong and ready to hit someone. I mean, that's a boost right there to the running game. Now you build your interior offensive line where you have Panfield, Marpet, and Sweezy. And then you have your tackles in Donovan Smith and DeMar Dotson. But the big thing that this offense line wasn't able to do last year, and I've made a point about this, is the 6-man line. They ran a lot of 6-man offensive lines in 2015, and it really helped their running game. It really provided a pocket for Jameis, gave him more pass protection, more time to read defenses. And last year, unfortunately, they weren't able to do it because they had so many inconsistencies with their 6-man, whether it be Chairless
or depth.
Yeah, whether it be Wester. But yeah, I mean, Sweezy going out last offseason with a back injury, that kind of put everything on hold because I truly believe they were going to move Marpet to center last year if Sweezy would have been healthy. And unfortunately, that pushed everything back. It shifted your depth. And you didn't have that guy that could do the 6-man blocking. And now you go into this offseason, you have guys like O.J. Howard who can block defensive linemen by himself. You have Luke Stalker who can do the same thing. And now you have a guy like Caleb Bendenach who I think can be that 6th guy on the outside because he has the versatility to play guard or tackle. But yeah, I mean, all these question marks, fans raising about the offensive line. I know it's a wait to be seen. We got to see how Marpet adjusts his center position, how Sweezy plays after being a year off. But I just have a feeling this unit is going to come together and be one of the best units on this team. And I thought they played pretty well last year, given the circumstances without the weapons. And now you add the weapons in, Jameis is going to be able to get rid of the ball quicker, and that's going to make the offense line that much better.
Absolutely. You don't have to hold your block as long. And, Bucs fan made a great point. Donovan Smith had a rough first half of the season, did look better towards the second half. Yeah. On the back end of the season, I thought that he made a lot more plays and he looked like the player that they had drafted. So, I said this a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about the offensive line again. I think that Donovan Smith is going to surprise a lot of people. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's all with consistency
and gel.
but
And
yeah, I mean, that
we
was,
always talk about gelling. I think that I don't
yeah.
think that's a cliche. I believe that when a team gels, and people can come in and give people rest and
Mhm.
stuff like that. I think that they've got the depth, at offensive line. I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So here we are. It's like we've got maybe 15 minutes left. I want to go back through some of these questions here, Michael. I'm going to hit you up
Okay.
and get your thoughts on them. Okay.
All right, sounds good.
All right. So Eric Moreno was asking, question for Mike: does Jeremy McNichols start the season is he a starter at the beginning of the season? And personally, I haven't gotten to see him play.
Mm.
I haven't gotten to see a whole lot out of him, and this roster is pretty much fluid, as you always like to say. It's pretty much fluid until the beginning of the season. So,
Mhm.
from what I'm seeing, we don't know what we have from him, until we can see him in practice and see him in live bullets.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, McNichols as a starter, I mean, I could see it, but I just don't think it's going to happen right now. I think Jacquizz Rodgers and Charles Sims, just their understanding of the playbook, more comfortability with Dirk Cutter. I think that's the direction they'll probably go. But I mean, McNichols is very talented. He's a very good running back. Has great patience. So I mean, it's going to be a battle, but I don't see it right now as far as week one starter to start the season.
Okay, so there we go with that. Eric Moreno, what's the best offense? Evans and Jackson on the outside, Howard in the slot, Godwin with the slot. So many options. And Amazement 717. I think Jameis was asked to do way more than Mariota. Plus, the playbook is sticker too. Jameis will cut down on picks because of the weapons we have, and he won't force feed Evans anymore. Um,
Mhm.
that kind of makes sense. I mean, when you look
Mhm.
at the weapons that Jameis Winston had to work with last season, when you lose a Doug Martin, you lose a Vincent Jackson, and
Mhm.
you don't have nobody wants to distance themselves from the group for the second wide receiver position. So you had a
Mhm.
lot of the same in that second wide receiver position, where there was Dante Dye, Russell Shepard, and Adam Humphries. Because
Mhm.
Jameis Winston had a good connection with Adam Humphries, I think it worked out for him as well.
Mhm. Yeah, and let's go back to the first question by Eric. I think the best offense is just being able to be diverse and versatile. That's the biggest thing. You want to be able to be multiple in your offensive formations. It's all about creating mismatches in the NFL. If you can create mismatches, you have a chance to win consistently, and that's what it's about. As far as who's in the slot and who's on the outside, it doesn't really matter as long as you have uh, the weapons to go in there and make plays and get mismatches. That's what it's about. And then as far as the interceptions going down, I think that's the same thing. I mean, Jameis has multiple weapons now where he doesn't have to focus on one individual. He can spread the football around, which is what he wants to do. He wants to spread it around and get everyone involved. And when he does that, it's usually his best game because that's when quarterbacks are at their best. When they can spread that ball around, you don't know where the football is going. It makes a dangerous offense.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, here's a very interesting question right here. Or not a question, but a statement. Uh, Jeremy Valencia said, "I'm nervous about the defense because we're so undersized." What do you
Yeah.
say to that?
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, we have some undersized defensive ends, but
But it makes
I
for
don't.
mismatches on the edges. But I'll let you finish
Yeah.
and I'll jump in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the defense is going to be just fine. I actually believe this defense is going to have a really good year. I think they're going to start off where they left off last season and being one of the best defenses in the league, and they're just going to get better with addition of Chris Baker, Stevie T. I mean, that's going to make our undersized guys, if you want to say, and Quan Alexander and Levante David, Noah Spence, those guys are just going to be better because they're not going to have hands on them. They're going to have hands off of them. That's going to make them better to get in the backfield. So, I wouldn't be worried about the size of our team. I think we're going to be just fine.
Yeah. And Jeremy, I just want to put this out here. Noah Spence is 100% healthy. And from what I saw from him as an injured player, I'm nothing but excited about what he's capable of doing as a perfectly healthy player coming in. And he's got a season of pro football under his belt. So I expect huge things from him. Jacquez Smith, if he's 100% healthy, I expect big things from him. So quarterbacks beware. And that's pretty much the way I'm seeing it right now. Michael, next question is to you. Does Roberto Aguayo make the team?
That's a great question. I mean, that kicker battle is the ultimate battle this training camp. I mean, it was talked about today on NFL Network for Good Football Morning or Good Morning Football. So, I mean, that was the topic today. I mean, as far as him making the team, I want to say he's going to bounce back and make that second round pick a valid one for Jason Light. But as of now, I think Folk's going to take it just because of the pressure to win. Yeah, the pressure to win now, and this team is definitely ready to win now. And you just can't have that position to be in doubt. You just got to have a solid kicker back there, and you don't want to have to worry about it, in season.
Yeah, most definitely. That's pretty much where I'm at. Unless he has an outstanding camp, I don't see it. I mean, just this guy has been Nick Folk has been lights out throughout the camp so far. So I mean, Roberto Aguayo really has to bring his A game, A, B, C, D, whatever other games he's got with him, Madden.
Yeah.
I don't know, bring his PS4, whatever game he's got, he better bring it because he's going to need it this season, to be honest, because all eyes are on him right now.
Yeah.
And let's see, Amazement 717, although he's aggressive, you don't want to see him lose that fairness. I think I mentioned that earlier about Jameis, talking about Jameis Winston. Being conservative does not get it done. I agree with that. That's definitely good. Eric Moreno, Freeman not even close to Winston. Let's see, Dorian Whitehead. To be honest, the closest thing to Jameis Winston is Phillip Rivers, even though I don't want to admit it. So that, again, it's all subjective. How you see this quarterback is, just it all depends on how you see him. And for me, once you pointed out Peyton Manning, I went back and looked at some things. I'm right there with you. Peyton Manning, Brett Favre kind of thing. Brett Favre has the same mentality. He just wants to win the game. He's just out there, he's having fun with football, but ultimately he wants to win that game. That's the most important thing to him. And, that's what I see in Jameis Winston. And, when you look at Jameis Winston after he throws a turnover, whatever, he's on the sidelines thinking, man, I want to get back out there. And you can see that look in his eyes. He's ready to get back out there and make something happen. So I love that aggressiveness about him. And, I hope he continues to keep that.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, that's what makes Jameis great. I mean, just his playmaking ability. I mean, the play to Adam Humphries in the Cowboys game. I mean, that's a 3rd and 1. And he sees Adam Humphries breaking open deep. He just throws it up there, allows a guy to make a play. I mean, so.
Yeah, definitely. Douglas O'Connor, Jameis' elongated throwing motion makes him better at scrambling in the red zone than running a timing play. So, well,
interesting.
Yeah, that's a different perception on that there. Most explosive plays and less rain delays. So let's hopefully cross your fingers while I'm there for the Bears game. We don't have to worry about that. Roland Brown, thanks for the shout out. I believe our defense will give him more opportunities. McCoy finally has help on the line. Now, I've gone back and forth with people about this. Do you feel like Tampa has ever addressed the position next to Gerald McCoy? And the reason I say this, I know they brought in Clinton McDonald, Tony McDaniels, players that have played on the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. But do you think that they've genuinely addressed that position?
I mean,
this is pre Chris Baker.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely tried. I mean, they added Brian Price in the same draft. I mean, it didn't work out, and then they added Adrian Claiborne. They added Daquan Bowers. So that's 3 guys in consecutive drafts right there. They had the guy in Michael Bennett, but they let him go.
Don't even get me. We can skip to the next thing. Yeah. Don't get me started. It's a sore subject with me right now.
But I think recently, Jason Light has done a great job of putting guys around him, and Robert Ayers, Noah Spence, now Chris Baker, who moves Clinton McDonald to that depth position, and now you can rotate McDonald in to keep McCoy fresh, which is huge because McCoy, I mean, he plays pretty much the whole game, and he doesn't really get that rest that is needed, especially throughout the season. And it seems, especially when he gets to once we get to the second half of the season, he tends to wear down and wear out a little bit. Mm. You can kind of tell that his sack numbers go down, especially as you get towards the latter half of the season. Now that's a stat to look up, to research. So,
and to be honest, that's something that they definitely need to look at. I mean, Gerald McCoy is what, 28?
I believe he's 29 now.
29, okay. Yeah. And it's just one of those things that you have to try to prolong his career as much as you can, and that includes getting him help, getting people that you can rotate in and out, and he's not going to be here forever. So to all the people that have criticized him or didn't like his play or whatever, Gerald McCoy has been a special player for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I've appreciated him personally, just what he does off the field and what he does on the field. And no, he's not Warren Sapp, and I don't think it's fair to compare him to Warren Sapp. And I really get frustrated with people that try to do that. He's Gerald McCoy. Totally different era. The eras are not the same. And what you have to consider is what he brings to his team, and you can tell a big difference when he's not there. So appreciate Gerald McCoy as much as you can while you have him, and give him your support if you can. Mm-hmm. So let me go on down the list here. Let's see here. I agree with Roland with Baker signing. I think someone will have a breakout on the D line this season. They have to. I mean, we're overdue, long overdue. And we really haven't had that presence since like a Simeon Rice. Michael Bennett was coming into that position before he was so unceremoniously allowed to go over to the freaking Seattle Seahawks. But I'll say that for another show. I won't even bring that up anymore. But again, that's one of those things that I really hope that I'm hoping for Noah Spence. He's one of those guys that I've always liked his game. I like what he's done to better himself. I like what he's done to put himself in a position to play in the NFL by taking the high road. He made some mistakes, got kicked off Ohio State, went to a D3 school, and he's gotten himself together. So to me, it's exciting to see him and see his progression in the NFL. And I hope he continues to do so. So let me go on down the line here. Let's see. Douglas O'Connor. Freeman got by on his natural ability until it was too late. Yeah, that's very true. Do you protect Kendall Beckwith as a starter at linebacker? Dorian Whitehead. I have to watch him. That's going to be somebody I really have to watch in camp because, unfortunately, folks, and I know I've said it in other podcasts, just watching his game film, I don't see where he gets separation. I've seen tight ends lock him up and he can't get loose. I've seen tight ends push him out of plays where he can't get to where the ball is. And, you know, that's just been the one thing that concerns me about him. And maybe, again, I'll be the first one to come on my show and say, hey, I was wrong about this guy. I said that about Quan Alexander. I was totally wrong. I whiffed on Quan Alexander because I didn't see what the scouts and the general manager saw. So, you know, this is a fan show. I'll be more than happy to admit I'm wrong, but just what I've seen on game film from Kendall Beckwith, I just don't see it. So it remains to be seen what he does playing with players, higher caliber players, if that brings out something better in him. But I just don't see it. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, same. I mean, he's got to get healthy first. We don't know if he's going to be in training camp or if he's going to be ready to go for that. And the same thing with preseason. So we just don't know yet. He's a mystery to me. I wasn't a fan of the pick. Like you said, I just didn't see enough on film. I thought at times he just disappeared too often. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I'm really excited about Devontae Bond. I think Bond is going to take that next step and become that starter at the same position. Now, again, this goes into a whole different subject, but the Bucs are going to play a lot of multiple defenses this year. There's going to be more 3-4, more 4-3 mixing in there. So I think you're going to see more Noah Spence and Jacque Smith at the linebacker spots. That's why Noah Spence has slimmed down. Same thing with Jacque Smith. So that's going to be something to watch for. But I think Devontae Bond is more in that mold where they want more speed on the edge, more speed on the field. And
yeah, he's a guy that you really haven't heard his name mentioned a lot.
Yeah, where I could see Beckwith play, especially this season, is in specialty formations like goal line and short yardage situations. So I mean that's where I could see it, but I don't see him starting.
All right. So I'm gonna go through a few more of these questions here. B Loggins, how you doing, B Loggins? Safety will be an interesting battle to watch, but I would say for now, Tandy should get the start. Yeah, he's earned that. I agree. Evans needs technique. Evans, to me, will be a work in progress. Again, we'll just have to see what he does in camp if he's healthy. And just kind of, you know, watch what he does as he goes along. But another player that, you know, the GM and the scouts saw something in him to pull the trigger and draft him where they did. So they must know something, you know, about him that we aren't seeing.
Yep.
Beckwith has more size than Levante and Quan, so he could complement them both. We need a physical guy on the D besides having speed guys. So yeah, again, we'll see how that works. I just feel like Tampa has not had the depth and balance that they have this season, and I know you like that word balance. I'm gonna steal one of your words here, but Tampa hasn't had this balance for a long while, and you know, again, I think that what Quan and Levante do together, it's amazing, you know, how they're able to work. And I think the NFL is about to get introduced to these guys, especially Quan, you know, just based on, you know, you look at what he's been snubbed on several occasions, and, you know, he's definitely taken notice of it. And I promise you, if this guy is playing, I mean, you see the level that he's been playing on, I'm expecting him to take it to another notch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And Levante is just as good. A lot of people, discredit Levante. Both of them are studs. And as far as the Beckwith, yeah, I mean, like I said, they're going to be playing multiple formations. I think 3-4. So you could see Beckwith in there as the second middle linebacker to go next to Quan Alexander. But I same thing with Justin Evans. Those two guys, I just don't think they're ready right now. I think they need time to develop and to get ready as we go forward. I mean, they just need time to learn their techniques. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, most definitely. And again, you know, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I know I did. I don't think Levante David had a bad season last season. I really don't. I think that he was instrumental in a lot of plays. And, you have to go back and watch the game film to see what he did. And he did things away from the ball that, impacted the game. So that's another thing that you really have to look at. And Amazement 717, we can run more packages and be versatile with Beckwith and Stevie T. Yeah. Let's see. Dorian Whitehead, he played in a less mild defense. I think he's a 3-year starter SEC competition. Not sure. Not Douglas O'Connor, not sure it's a 3-4 defense he wants or just looking to get stouter against the run.
Yeah.
So there's that. Let's see.
Yeah, and on that last point, that's a combination of both. I mean, we're going to be playing 3-4 and getting stronger against the run. I mean, Chris Baker and Stevie T, that's just and Beckwith. The whole goal was getting bigger, faster, and stronger this offseason, and the Bucs accomplished that. So, and that was one of our biggest weaknesses, was stopping the run, and that should improve this season with those guys in there. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a combination of both.
All right. Let's see. Spence would have been a top 10 pick if not for the Ohio State issues.
Yeah, no
Godwin
doubt.
won't play in the slot. He will play a ton, but Djax will slide into the slot when Godwin comes in, or will allow Djax to get a breather.
Yep.
So that's I can definitely see that. That will be insane with Djax in the slot and Evans and Godwin outside, plus Howard or Cam at tight end. So there's a lot of different thoughts here. And guys, please don't discount Cameron Brate. I'm telling you, don't be surprised if Cameron Brate has a monster season this season, because the guy's capable, and Jameis Winston is very comfortable with him. So please don't discount this guy and what he can bring to this team. Let's see. I had Godwin ranked right behind the big three in the draft: Williams, Davis, and Ross. And
that's fair.
Yeah. Eric Moreno says, Michael, are you going to be at camp practice next Friday? I'll be there.
I won't be there Friday, unfortunately. I will be there probably Sunday, that first Sunday. I usually wait a couple practices just because I like to see him in pads. So, yeah, I'll be there mostly on weekends just due to my day job. It doesn't allow me to get there weekdays, but weekends I'll try to be as many as I can. So
sweet, and that'll be great because we'll definitely be picking your brain on here to see what you see.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they finally started addressing it when Light was brought in, and I guess they're talking about the defensive line. Let's see, constantly one of the better under tackles in the league, though. I'm hoping Noah Spence can be that guy. Bucs fan. Let's see here.
Might want to wrap it up.
Yeah. So let's see here. All right. So that's pretty much it. Dorian Whitehead, do you think we're going to predominantly 3-4 or base 4-3, maybe 50-50? Last question.
No. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's going to be a mix. Again, it's all about creating mismatches. Whether that's defense or offense, it's all about putting your team in position to succeed. So it's going to be various. I mean, I think we're going to still be base 4-3, but you're going to see mixes of 3-4. It's not going to be we're completely 3-4. Our base is always going to be 4-3 defense. But if you find a way to confuse the offense with a 3-4 scheme, then you're going to do it. It's all about creating advantages in this league. That's what allows you to be successful. That's what allows you to win games. I mean, look at the Patriots. That's all they do is create advantages.
There we go. All right, folks. Well, it's been over an hour, and we're going to go ahead and wrap everything up. Michael, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
Yes, follow us at Real Bucs Talk. Check out our site. It's realbucstalk.com. We have a lot of great content on there. All Bucs fans, I mean, just feel free to interact with us on Twitter. This is a really great time to be in part of Bucs Nation. I mean, we got so many things going on across different platforms. So many good content out there. I'm really happy to be a part of it as far as a writer, not only of a writer but a fan. And I'm really excited to see where this takes us, because it's just going to continue to get better. Be a part of this show. This is a great platform to talk Bucs football, and it's been awesome. And also, I probably have an article on the defensive line coming out after this show once I get off of here. So look for that. I mean, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, guys, if you get a chance, go to realbucstalk.com. Great site, great content. They're not talking about the same things as some of the other different blog spots that you see. They have a little bit different perspective, and it's something that you can definitely appreciate. And you'll really appreciate it once the season gets started, as they're going to be breaking down film, just like myself. That's kind of why I have the show on Thursdays, because it always gives me a chance on Monday and Tuesday to break down game film, and I can give you a more realistic view on things. And if the Bucs lose, I'm not emotional. So there's that. But anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for participating in the chat. If I missed you, I apologize. If not, I'll catch you next time around. That's it for me. And Michael, thank you for checking out Real Bucs Talk. Goodness. Buc What You Heard. And what you heard is Real Bucs Talk. How about that? All right, guys. Thank you. Have a good night.